All right, welcome to Fifth Street Sports here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. I'm Nick Geber. It's great to be with you. We have more Premier League matches to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the FA Cup semi-finals going on which will be going on this weekend. We've got a lot of matches to get to, and of course, massive news coming out of the Emirates about the future of, Arsene Wenger. Joining me, as always, my co-host, the world-famous Nick Webster. Nick, good to have you on today.
Well, I think in the honor of Arsene Wenger that I will do the entire show with a silly French accent.
Oh, we will all sound like Maurice Chevalier. Thank heavens for little girls. Well, Nick, Arsene Wenger is on the way out at the end of the season. I can't say too many people are surprised. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We will, of course, be giving you all of our picks for the weekend's action, and I just want to say this, Nick, because I do like to, I have my right arm has extended longer than my left from patting myself on the back so much. But our picks, Nick, have been nothing short of spectacular. That's right. If you put a little dosh on what we said, we know you're currently out there driving your new Lambo and enjoying every minute of it, because this is Fifth Street Sports Soccer. This is talk you can bet on, and we know you have been doing just that. And speaking of that, we want you to go to betanysports.eu right now, or com, that works as well, Bet Any Sports. Sign up right now. Put a little money on some of these picks, or if you want to do NHL or NBA, it's all going on right now. And if you sign up right now, they'll give you a 50% bonus up to $1,000 on your first deposit. And that, Nick, is just free money.
Free money, otherwise known as $500 for free. Now, if I was walking down the street and found $500 lying on the ground, I would pick it up and put it in my pocket immediately.
Right. Well, while we go to break, which we're going to do in just a second here, you go ahead, go to betanysports.com, sign up. This is Fifth Street Soccer. We'll be right back after this, right here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. It's good to be back here on Fifth Street Soccer on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. By the way, a big hello to our men and women in uniform listening around the world on American Forces Network. It's fabulous to be speaking with you as we do each and every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 1 p.m. Pacific Time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Time by my very poor calculations. We're also coming at you via iHeartRadio, TuneIn.com, and quite frankly, everywhere you want to be. Oh, the live video stream. If you want to check us out live, see my beautiful face, a face that launched 1,000 ships. You can do that at YouTube and youtube.com. Search for Fifth Street Sports and Twitch. You can do that at twitch.com/Fifth Street Sports. And find us, of course, on Facebook at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. And lastly, if you're ready, I know it's getting tedious. I apologize. Twitter is at Fifth Street Sports. All right, let's get back to Nick Webster, my co-host, and let's kick off the show, shall we, in fine fettle with the Tottenham-Manchester United FA Cup semi-final. Nick, the only sadness I have about this particular tie is that there can't be two losers. It was a little like the Iran-Iraq war. But no, can't have two losers here. It is a shame, though, isn't it? I thought you were a Charlton Athletic man, Nick Webster.
Oh, no, Will Stone in the Ryman League. But going to Wembley is always a glorious occasion. And really the advantage all goes to Tottenham Hotspur on this occasion, being that Wembley has been their home ground for the entire year. Manchester United, after that incredible win 2 weeks ago, where both you and I would have made millions of dollars had we backed ourselves, then did the incredible where losing to West Bromwich Albion last week. Tottenham...
Well, hold on, Nick. Hold on. You say did the incredible last week, but I do want to point out, if you were watching and or listening to this very show, your two favorite pundits, your two favorite prognosticators of the beautiful game, we would have told you, Nick, to bet West Bromwich Albion because we felt Man United were ripe for the picking, and West Bromwich Albion, what did I say, Nick? I said a clock is always right. A broken clock is right 2 times a day, right? Well, it struck midnight, didn't it?
Yes, it struck the jackpot. Manchester United were absolutely appalling and fully deserved to lose. There's so much trouble with Mourinho and Pogba, and he's saying that he's going to let him go, and Pogba's like the 3rd most expensive player in the history of the universe. So this is actually all of a sudden turned into a really big game because Tottenham Hotspur are almost becoming the nearly club. Everybody says, oh, Tottenham, oh, they play beautiful football. Oh, they really knock it around nicely. Well, where are the trophies? On the other side of the coin, you've got Mourinho and Manchester United who play appalling football. But this Portugueser does have a habit of just sniffling up these trophies. So I'm actually going to go for a draw in this one and United to win on penalties.
Right. Well, you and I are in a complete agreement here, Nick. And it's going to be a low-scoring game. This is going to be 1-1 in regulation. United will edge this in penalties. I'm with you on that one. And the reason I'm saying that is neither team is going to want to miss a shot at Southampton or Chelsea. Both of those teams, both of those teams are ripe for the picking. So this is a really nice path to some silverware for both of these clubs right now. I can't see them playing open, expansive football. I don't think this is going to be a cracking match. This is not going to be one for the ages. Man United, in my opinion, Nick, are as comfortable at Wembley as Tottenham are. Let's be honest. They played there a lot over the last few years. I like this 1-1. And I like Man United in penalties. The over-under on this is 2.5, Nick. I would take the under probably if I were going to take anything on this one.
I'm very tempted to take the under. You know, Jose Mourinho, as I said, he's a serial winner of trophies, and he really doesn't care how he wins them. I'm expecting the bus to be parked nice and tight. It's going to be a tight game. As much as Pochettino wants to get Spurs playing their usual kind of expansive football, Harry Kane is coming back from injury. He hasn't really hit the heights of Harry Kane yet. And United just don't look like they're that interested. So, yes, low-scoring game. United to hold their nerve on pens.
Right. Well, I tell you what, Nick, I want to run through one more match, then we're going to go to break. When we come back from break, I want to talk about the situation at the Emirates with Arsene Wenger. But let's very quickly talk about Liverpool versus West Bromwich Albion. Now, Liverpool obviously going to be looking forward to a cracking semi-final against Roma in the Champions League, which is going to be a terrific match. I can't wait. A replay of the 1984 finals, hopefully the same outcome. But look, West Bromwich Albion are awful. I picked them to beat Man United last week. They did. I do not pick them to go to Anfield and get anything out of this match. I do not believe they will. For me, this is going to be a very nice Liverpool victory because I think certain players, and I'm not sure who Klopp's going to play here because he's obviously going to be resting some of the squad ahead of the Roma match. But I like Liverpool on this one, 3-1, Nick, because I think West Brom was an aberration last week, which we picked, I might add, as I said before. But they're not an aberration this weekend. Liverpool going to do the number, 3-1. The over-under's 2.5. I would take the over and take Liverpool at -186.
Well, Liverpool, in fact, I have to just correct you very quickly. They are, in fact, going to the Hawthorns. But yes, you are correct.
I apologize. You are quite correct, Nick. Yeah.
Klopp will surely have one eye on the Roma game, and when you have Mohamed Salah, you want to wrap that man in cotton wool. But, and this is the but, had Chelsea stubbed their toe against Southampton yesterday, I would have agreed with you 100%. But I don't think Liverpool can quite take their foot off the gas yet in terms of qualification for the Champions League. The simple reason being they actually have to play Chelsea second last game of the season. So that one all of a sudden becomes a 6-pointer of sorts. So I'm going to say that Liverpool and Klopp are going to have all guns blazing. They're going to go out there and they're going to aim to put West Bromwich Albion away early doors. And then we're going to start saying, okay, Mohamed, you're done. Yes, Firmino, you're done. Mane, you're done. Right. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say it's going to be an over in the goals. And I do predict the Liverpool win. And yes, West Bromwich Albion are awful and they will be going down.
Yeah, and it's important to actually, the point you brought up was one that I didn't, but you are absolutely correct. It's not a given that Liverpool are going to secure an automatic Champions League berth at this point. It is still tight at the top for those Champions League spots. So they don't have the luxury of sitting back and resting players and resting on their laurels for the match against Roma. So you are quite right. You never know. We could see the same sort of aberration that we had with the Merseyside derby, although that was a derby and I doubt it. Liverpool have been in fine form. I do see them winning here away. Thank you, Nick, for pointing that out at the Hawthorns, and we both agree on the over. All right, Nick, when we come back, and we've got a bit of time for break, actually, about 90 seconds, Arsene Wenger announced, late last night, today here in the States, that he would be stepping down as the manager of Arsenal now next season. It's important to recognize that Arsene Wenger isn't just a manager. He's not just the gaffer. He's that too, but he is the man that really runs, essentially, anything to do with the ball that is round and the football club. He has that much control at the football club. Of all the managers in the Premier League, Arsene Wenger is probably the most powerful, short of the former manager Alex Ferguson, who I think had a lot more power around Old Trafford. But similar in level, similar in stature. Nick, I mean, it's going to require a complete revamp top to bottom for Arsenal.
Well, yes, Arsene Wenger, a complete legend, and he really has brought the club into the 21st century. Won a whole host of trophies, 3 Premier Leagues, 7 FA Cups, and he moved the club from Highbury, dear tiny little library of Highbury, and brought them to the Emirates Stadium. And really, I've been to the Emirates. It's a world-class facility. Arsene Wenger has totally transformed Arsenal. However, as you say, his legacy there. I'm kind of worried about the next manager stepping in, and I really feel that we could have a post-Fergie situation. Remember, David Moyes came in.
We're going to get to that. Hold on, Nick. We got to go to break.
Okay.
This is what we're going to talk about when we come back. Fifth Street Sports Soccer. We'll be right back. And we are back on Fifth Street Soccer here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. Of course, a big hello to our men and women in uniform listening around the world on American Forces Network. Also coming at you via TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and of course you can watch us in all of our glory on YouTube or Twitch, or you find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. And if you've got something to say, we'd love to hear it from you. Either find us on Facebook or find us on Twitter at Fifth Street Sports. All right, welcome back, Nick Webster, into the magic of our digital studio here. Nick is no longer in the coat closet today. Oh, he's back in the coat closet. I didn't notice. Nick, Arsene Wenger, we discussed before the break his departure from Arsenal, and it's interesting as I look at this because you brought up some comparisons to Fergie, and of course we're talking about Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. If you don't know who Fergie is, we're not talking about the singer from Black Eyed Peas, although when she left Black Eyed Peas had the same effect, right? But to back it up a bit, if you remember when Highbury was being demolished and the Emirates was being built, around that period of 3 or 4 years just about, the word from Wenger and the Arsenal board was, look, we're not going to spend silly money on players. We're going to keep a tight fiscal ship. We're going to build this new stadium. We're not going to have debt. Look at those fiscally foolish people at Manchester United and all the debt they're in. We're not going to do that. We're going to have we're going to have a Champions League winning balance sheet. And so that when we do move to the new stadium with all this extra capacity, it's going to be revenue for everybody, and we can go out and acquire any player we want. We're going to be the richest club in the world, blah, blah, blah. And of course, that did happen. But what didn't happen, Nick, was the actual investment in top quality players. Arsenal, like two dogs, like dogs at the dog park, ran around sniffing an awful lot of bottoms, but there was never any humping and there was never any fighting. The other dog would turn around and growl, and they'd just leave like a scolded mutt. Nick, a big disappointment, wouldn't you say?
Well, yes. When you think about the impact that Wenger made when he initially came on the scene, he won his double in his first full year as a manager, won the double again in 2002. Was part of the Invincibles, the team that went 38 games unbeaten, and his rivalry with Sir Alex Ferguson was the main talking point of the English Premier League. I think what happened to Wenger was that a certain Portuguese came on the scene in 2004 in London, Mourinho to Chelsea, and Wenger really just disappeared off the scene. And he never really truly replaced the great Arsenal players, namely Henry, Vieira, Perez, and Bergkamp.
Yeah,
those were the attacking spine of his team, and the bite and nastiness that Patrick Vieira gave Arsenal. And we've lamented for years, who is Arsenal's hard man? Who's the guy that's going to take the team by the scruff of the neck and lead them through these tough battles? And Wenger never found that player, to his detriment.
Well, the thing is, Nick, those players were out there. And in some respects, I think Wenger was afraid to go out and acquire a big name player or a player with a massive price tag like that, precisely because he was worried that player wouldn't live up to expectation, and then he would be held accountable for that. I think a lot of this was just his fear of actually taking the plunge, because Arsenal have lots of money. This is not a club that is in any way, shape, or form short of money. Now, if you don't know who owns Arsenal, you might want to look to the owner of the Colorado Rapids. They share a lot in common. Of course, Colorado and Stan Kroenke don't have a Russian billionaire who owns a slightly less than majority amount of the team, who'd like to own more of it. So Arsenal in the boardroom, they make lots of money. They're very tight fiscally with it. They're very conservative. In terms of how they're run as a business, they're probably the best run business in the Premier League. They're also, by the way, the most expensive ticket in the Premier League. That's something to remember. So Wenger has been afraid to pull the trigger on these big name signings, I think because he is afraid of failure, that they don't work out. Number one. Number two is to just look back at some of the names that, as I was talking about dogs in the dog park, I mean, Wenger sniffed Luis Suarez's bottom so incredibly carefully, and at the end of the day, he offered a ridiculously low amount. I mean, it was a joke, right? An absolute joke. You don't really want the player if you're going to offer him that low of amount. Was it £1 over his supposed buyout clause or something ridiculous like that? Nick, that's where I think ultimately Arsene Wenger fell flat on his face. Wasn't so much tactics on the pitch or training or the training ground. It was actually in developing and buying the players that he needed to make a consistent top winning team.
Well, I think, he has spent money. He spent money this year on Lacazette and Aubameyang, and, close to like 120 million quid. However, I don't think he's bought the right type of players to make Arsenal a contender in the Premier League. Yes, they're doing very well in the FA Cup, but you only have to win, 5-6 games to win the FA Cup. So in those one-off matches, Arsenal have come up trumps, but over the course of a season, and that's why English football is probably considered the best in the world, because the course of a Premier League season, the highs and the lows, and you have to slog through the winter. You know, Arsenal have always been known as playing the most beautiful football in the world when? August, September, October. They go into the crapper November, December, January, February, March because the weather's bloody awful, and then turn it on again in April and May. And it's because he hasn't bought the right characters.
Yeah.
And, you know, ultimately, that will be, I think, that will be the one stain on his legacy, which truly is a great legacy because at the end of the day, Nick, Arsene Wenger changed the way the English look at English football.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Nick. And, I mean, who can forget that in those invincible teams or the doubles? Really, an absolutely terrific manager in his heyday. But you make a great point about him being overshadowed by the special one, Jose Mourinho, who, you know, himself is having his own trials and tribulations. But I think it's really important from a bet, because this is talk you can bet on. So let's talk about betting. What does this mean for Arsenal going forward? I'm going to suggest to you that Arsenal are going to have a good 2 to 3 seasons of absolute turmoil. I think it's an inevitability, Nick, when you get a manager of that stature whose tenure has been there for so long, who's so ingrained in the system top to bottom, from the procedures they use to take tickets at the gate to the players that they buy to the training field. He does everything there. He is responsible for that club top to bottom. When he leaves, that club is going to get into absolute turmoil. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to replace him with one person. I doubt it. They're probably going to have to replace 2 or 3 people to cover all of the jobs that Wenger does. And I think Arsenal are going to be an absolute wreck ship for the next 2 to 3 seasons.
Well, the interesting thing is Arsene Wenger walking away from the club, or will they try and smooth it over and give him a place on the board, or give him a background job? And if that's the case,
but Nick, how hard is that? But how hard would that be for any other manager to come in?
Well, it's a nightmare, and we saw what happened with David Moyes at Manchester United because Fergie was still lurking around over his shoulder. I mean, it's going to have to be a manager, and I have my own personal favourite that I think should come into the Emirates, and that's the very team they're facing midweek, Atletico Madrid and Diego Simeone.
Yeah,
I believe that Simeone would be perfect for Arsenal because he is a hard man who will do things his way and not be influenced by anybody. And more importantly, he won't take any crap from the players. And that's exactly what Arsenal need in this moment of transition.
Do you think Arsenal are an attractive enough target for Simeone right now? I mean, he was linked with the biggest jobs in Spain, 2 years ago, right?
I think they have the resources to attract him. Yes, I do believe that.
Well, I don't know what the lines are on the next Arsenal manager. I think those are going to be out probably next week, Nick, and we can take a look at those. By the way, if you're interested in placing a small wager, do that. Go to betnysports.com, and if you put Fifth Street in the affiliate code and you sign up, you get 50% bonus on your deposit up to $1,000. That's free money for you to play with. And we, of course, are talking about the Premier League action this weekend, wrapping up our discussion of Arsenal. Nick, I still think it's going to be very rough sledding for the folks at the Emirates for the next few seasons. I think they also have to retool that squad top to bottom. So we're going to finally see if the much vaunted vault of Arsenal is finally opened for a manager that's willing to actually go out and splash the cash.
Yes, I agree with you. However, they are going to beat West Ham United, and they're going to do it quite comfortably. So if you want to make a wager of sorts, back Arsenal this weekend and take the goals.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Nick. It's going to be a thumping, a walloping this weekend. Those players at Arsenal have a lot to prove. They're going to be trying to book themselves a ticket for the Arsenal of tomorrow, given that the Arsenal of today is officially over. And I think that's a great point, Nick. I said this was going to be 2-0 Arsenal. The over-under is 3. You think it's going to be more than 2 goals. Arsenal are minus 186, which actually isn't that huge of a favorite when you think about it, Nick. We do have to go to break. Nick and I both agree take Arsenal. He says take the over. I say take the under. It's up to you. Arsenal going to beat West Ham at home. Right. We're going to step aside, take a break. We'll be right back to wrap up the picks for the Champions League for the for the Premier League for the weekend. So you don't want to miss that. So stay with us right here on Sports Byline. Oh, thanks for sticking with us here at Fifth Street Sports Soccer on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. Nick Geber with you alongside Nick Webster. And I say alongside, he's not literally alongside me, but in the world of digital, it's like the Matrix here. Let's be honest. He's in some other digital plane, but it's just like he was here and he's doing spin-arounds like Keanu Reeves with some big black overcoat. Anyway, Nick Webster. I don't know what I'm babbling on about. We have a few more matches.
You are babbling there.
I am babbling. We have a few more matches to get to here in the Premier League. And then we are going to touch on Tuesday's Champions League semi-final because that's Tuesday and we're not on the air with you again until Friday. So we're going to have a few thoughts about that one. But let's move along, shall we? We did just give you the pick for Arsenal. Let's go to Watford against Crystal Palace. Nick, for me, this is not all that hard of a pick, to be fair. Watford have scored 3 goals in 5 matches. They've had 13 goals scored against them. Even at home, they're abysmal. Away, they're not great. On the other hand, Crystal Palace beat both Brighton Hove Albion and Huddersfield away in the last 5 matches. Crystal Palace are fighting for their very lives, and they're doing it with some effective play on the field. The players are showing up. And so I really like Crystal Palace for this match, Nick. I know it's away. I know it's maybe a bit of a surprise. But for me, I like 1-0 Palace on this one. And right now, you're getting some good numbers on Palace at plus 150, and the over/unders 2. I'd take the under, and I'd take Palace at plus 150. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I really like Palace in this one. I think they're flying at the moment, and with Winifred Zaha, they have one of the most exciting players in the Premier League, and it'd be interesting, actually, to me, to see what happens in the summer and if they can keep this young man. And Milovic is also the captain. He's ticking over, and it seems like Roy Hodgson. I know you don't really love Roy from his time at Liverpool, but there's no two ways about it. He's a vastly experienced manager. Watford already have the flip-flops out. They've got the deck chairs waiting. The pina coladas are nice and frosty on the side of the pool. They are checked out. Palace to win this one, but I actually think Palace might even score a few goals here. So I'm tempted to go the opposite of you and go with the over, but I'm definitely all in on Crystal Palace.
Well, they've been scoring goals, a fair amount of goals recently. I just, for some reason, I think Watford are going to pack it in the back. I agree, by the way. Watford, they've really got nothing left to play for. One of the things we talk about in the Premier League is how wonderful it is with all the top teams fighting for Europe and the top 4 finish for the Champions League and Europa League and the Championship and the title. And then on the bottom end, it's relegation. But there is that sort of tranche of 4 or 5 teams in the middle that really, truly have bugger all to do come the end of the season. Watford, one of those. I just don't know if Palace have the ability to score that many goals on Watford, because I think they do have a bit of pride, and I think they will pack it in the back. It's going to be a really boring game. In my opinion, I might be wrong, but we're both in agreement on that one. Let's go to Stoke Burnley. That's the next matchup we got to look at. Nick, I don't particularly like this match anyway. I just don't think it's a very interesting match. I have to say, for my mind, that this is going to be a 1-1 draw. And I think the draw right now has got some decent numbers on it. I'd have to check it out. But I would take the draw.
I would. I agree with you. It's not a very interesting game. Stoke are all but doomed. Burnley don't really keep clean sheets, but Stoke really don't score a lot of goals. I really, if you are tempted to put a wager on this game, and actually when I wager on games, Nick, I do tend to watch the games because I want to see how my bet does. If you wager on this game, that means you have to watch Stoke versus Burnley. Oh my God. But if you do decide to take that chance, and I would take the under.
You're going to take the under. Yeah, well, it is 2. And I'm. So you think it's going to be a 0-0 or a 1-0?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not going to be a very exciting match either way. The draw is paying plus 222 right now at BetAnySports.com. So I think that is a very good value on this match, and I would definitely take the draw. Let's go to Chelsea Southampton. I don't think there's all that much really in this match, Nick, in terms of predicting a winner. It's very hard for me to see Southampton getting anything out at Stamford Bridge, as weirdly inconsistent as Chelsea are. Chelsea definitely need the points because they want to chase Tottenham down for that 4th spot. They're going to want to get the points. Southampton are going to need to get points to get out of relegation zone where they are in fairly firmly entrenched. Then we're going to see goals here, Nick. We're going to see goals.
I've got to stop you right there, Nick. I've got to stop you right there. Usually points save people, but here in the FA Cup, it's all about a one-off and winning the game. So, can Southampton upset the form book and make it to Wembley? It doesn't seem likely.
No.
But, Chelsea haven't exactly been setting the world on fire recently. Antonio Conte, he's got 4 games left in charge of the Blues before he buggers off back to Italy. So, Southampton and Mark Hughes may think that they've got a little bit of a window. However, the smart money...
Yeah, and Nick, I am so out of it today. Of course, that is not a Premier League match. That is the FA Cup semi-final. But the same thing goes. There's not a chance, not a hope in hell Southampton have of winning that match.
I think the one thing in Southampton's favour, Alonso, who I really like, I think he's one of the best wing backs in the world, is suspended because he's a naughty boy and stamped on someone's ghoulies. But yes, when you look through that Chelsea team, there's just so much class, and surely they've got one or two great games left in them before Conte pisses off.
Yeah, and silverware is silverware, Nick. And let's
That's right.
Not beat around the bush. That's what these managers are here for. That's what those players are there for. And that's what their bonuses are structured on. So let's remember that. All right, let's move right along. Manchester City against Swansea. The question I have for you, Nick,
Take the over.
Take the over. I would agree. I mean, you could say, well, City already won it. But keep in mind, folks, at this point, players are showcasing themselves for positions on their World Cup rosters. Players are trying to position themselves for new contract negotiations or to be part of the team for next season. And in terms of Swansea, they are very close to the relegation zone. They're only 4 points above Southampton. So it's going to be a wide open match. City are just too good, too much class. I don't see any surprises here.
Well, in my book, Pep Guardiola has proven himself to be one of the most ruthless managers in world football. And I can guarantee you this, Nick, even though the Premier League trophy is now firmly back at the Etihad, they are going to present it to the players on Sunday. And Guardiola is going to want to absolutely smash every Premier League record. Now, this is the nice part, and this is why I think they're going to go out and absolutely steamroller Swansea, because the Premier League records for points and goals and goal difference in a season, who holds them? Oh, that would be Chelsea and a certain Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
Guardiola would love nothing more than to stick it to Jose and take his records while absolutely demolishing the Swans. If you have any extra money, put it on the over.
Put it on the over. I agree. Let's talk about one, and I'm not sure what the lines are on this one. I'm looking them up right as we speak. Everton, Newcastle. It's at Goodison Park. Nick, I think Rafa Benitez has actually done a terrific job with Newcastle, don't you?
Perhaps Rafa Benitez should be in consideration for Manager of the Year. Yeah. When you think about the chairman of Newcastle United, Mr. Fat-bellied old Mr. Mike Ashley, who really, as an owner, is a complete disgrace, has given Rafa Benitez tuppence to work with. And Benitez really has made a silk purse out of a pig's backside, creating Newcastle. I mean, they've won, I think, 4 of their last 5 games. They've got themselves out of trouble. And to be honest with you, if you watch Newcastle play, they play some decent football.
Yeah, they do.
Love John Joe Shelby. He's working his way back into England reckoning. You've got Sam Allardyce on the other side of the coin, who, is probably the most unpopular man in Merseyside.
Yeah.
Evertonians can't wait for the season to end and perhaps ship him off. They're safe. I really like the draw in this game.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm stuck between a draw and a 2-1 Everton. I'm not sure which way this one's going to go. I'm sorry to whiffle waffle. It's just.
That's all right. I would take the draw and some goals though. I believe the over is 2.5, and I'm sensing a 2-1 victory.
I'm sensing a 2-1 Everton victory on this one. My Miss Cleo. I'm channeling my Miss Cleo. All right, let's channel ourselves to Tuesday, shall we, Nick? Because a very big match coming up at Anfield. This is not in the Premier League. This is, of course, the Champions League, the semi-finals, Roma-Liverpool. Nick, I am very surprised at some of the lines right now, and I'm just going to tell you what they are. Roma advancing to the final is a plus 195. Liverpool are a minus 235. For this particular match, Liverpool are a minus 188 and Roma are a plus 543. That's a whopping underdog. I don't see that, Nick, and I don't see the over-unders 3 on this one. Really, I just don't know about that, Nick. I think that's a fair number of goals, albeit it is at Anfield. And as much as I think Liverpool will shade this match, I think they're going to take it 1-0. Roma are a decent defensive team. They've got some good attack. They've got a terrific midfield. But I see this as a much more cagey affair. I don't see this as all guns blazing, Nick. I think I'd take the under on this. Probably would take Liverpool at minus 188. But there's great value in that Roma at plus 543 and the draw at plus 364.
Yeah, there certainly is. I mean, and it's intriguing that the bookies make Roma such a big dog. I think the mystique of Anfield on the European nights may have clouded their vision somewhat. Roma have made it to the semi-final of the Champions League not because they're a crap team and they've got lucky. They put together some quality performance.
They're terrific.
However,
team,
they did go to the new camp and get battered 4-1. So this is a team that can concede goals if they're not set up in the right way. And as we've seen so far in these European nights at Anfield, if the team does get a good start, the atmosphere and the crowd really drive them on to heights we've not seen since the mid 70s and early 80s.
And so, I think it's that new. I think it's that new camp battering, Nick. I think it's the away battering because Roma played very, very well at home. I think it's their away form that's really indicative of the big dog that they are for this one. I like Liverpool to win this match. The big question is, are Roma going to score an away goal?
I doubt it. Liverpool have really shored things up defensively since they bought the big Dutchman. The keeper's turned his season around. I love Robertson. All of a sudden, defensively, Liverpool are just as good at the back as they are going forward. And, I mean, if you have Salah, Mane, Firmino in the team, you're always going to score goals.
Yeah. I'm going to say this is, for me, going to be, I'm going to go with a 3-0 Liverpool result, Nick. That's it. We got to go to break.
Resounding victory for the Reds.
Yeah, it'll be a good match, though. That's maybe my my support. We got to go to break, Nick. We'll wrap it up on the other side.
Right.
This is Fifth Street Soccer, Sports Byline USA. We'll be right back. Well, good friends, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Fifth Street Sports Soccer on Sports Byline. Hope you've enjoyed our picks. We give them to you every week and get you ready to make some money for the next week. So what you need to do, if you don't know how to actually place a bet here, you can do that very simply. You can just go to betanysports.com and click the link, sign up, and if you mention Fifth Street in the affiliate box or whatever, the marketing box, I don't know what they call it, the box, they'll give you a 50% bonus on your deposit up to $1,000. And you can bet everything there, folks. Premier League, esports, NHL, MLB, NFL. Of course, they just published the NFL season already. It's getting exciting if you're into NFL. Lots of great stuff going on. Golf. Good Lord. Everything. Boxing, MMA. And I want to thank Nick Webster for joining me again today. As always, Nick, pleasure. We'll be back with you next week.
Thank you, Nick. I can't wait for it. And it's going to be another fantastic weekend of the world's beautiful game. Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. Also, Champions League getting down to the wire. Premier League, well, the title's decided. And by the way, congratulations to Manchester City. I do think that their European failures have really cast a cloud on their achievements this season. But they really were very strong for 80% of the season or 85% of the season. The rest of it, well, not so great. But we do have to go now. So I want to thank you for joining us. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. I want to thank all the fine people in San Francisco, Scott, Darren Peck, Ron Barr, great guys there at Sports Byline. Thanks a lot for being behind our show. Thank you, Nick Webster. Thank you, Boggs. And once again, I will be back with you. Actually, Saturday, Fifth Street Sports will be on. We'll cover all sports. So be sure to join us Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, have a great night.